Kody's biggest priority on Special Forces is to make sure that everyone knows how strong and what great shape he is. And he seems to be doing fine with that. I mean, the guy says that he works out an hour a day. He had 9 weeks to get ready. Seems like he got ready. But that being said, he's not doing particularly great at anything involving other people. So this was one of the challenges where it was a team challenge, but it wasn't really a team challenge. They got up to the roof. They had to cross this ladder. They did sort of bait him a little bit by saying, imagine your wives are on the other side of this. And he's like, in the interview, he's like, I used to have 4 wives. Now I have 1. I want to make her proud. But earlier in the episode, he has a challenge where he has to be with, it was Brianna and Christy Rampone, the soccer player, and Brianna Chicken Fry, who I'm not terribly familiar with other than internet chatter. And they have to go through and get a wounded combatant out of a like mock city. And what I noticed then was his biggest priority was making sure, like, go, 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 go. He didn't really bother to check in whether they were holding up the gurney, if they were ready, if they stopped. He'd be like, you can't stop. Like, rather than being like, come on, we have to keep going. You can do it. Like any of that kind of language. It was a lot of like, he thought of himself as the drill sergeant and them as his lackeys that he's supposed to be yelling at. It kind of surprised me that the DS didn't call out that that's not that's not Kody's job. They're the DS. They're supposed to be yelling at him. They were yelling at him. Additionally, they were already carrying one person in a gurney and there's another wounded person. And to me, it sounded like the woman said, hold on, we have to check. And like, hold on. And he was like, no, we can't stop. So they picked up the gurney and they kept going. And they were supposed to have also rescued that person as well. So they failed because of that. But to me, it was kind of interesting that the DS didn't highlight the fact that to me, it sure seemed like he was yelling at them to continue moving and not to bother to check, because the guys you were looking for someone with an American flag on it, but because of how he was sitting, the flag was turned away from them. So they were supposed to stop and double check that if this was one of their soldiers or not. And I was kind of surprised that they didn't do that the DS didn't call that out. Now, there's a lot going on. There's explosions, there's this or that. So maybe, and they're mics, so maybe he didn't hear it. Maybe it wasn't important. Maybe I misunderstood what they were saying. But it's interesting because what I am seeing on the show is that he seems to be fine, physically fit. He seems to be doing okay on the challenges. But he is not doing much to mend his reputation, because to me, his reputation was not hurt by thinking he was an unfit man in terms of like cardiovascular conditioning. That he's an awful person to the people around him, and that he is not, doesn't treat his wives and his children, and he's selfish, that he's trying to steal money from them. He's financial abuse, all of that. So him going on a show to prove that he can like lift things and run things doesn't actually, to me, fix anything. I don't know. That's just my takeaway.